You're listening to Rookie Pirate Radio, the official anime and manga podcast for InBetweenDrafts.com. I'm John Negroni.
And I'm Travis Hymas.
And today we're doing a manga recap of both One Piece Chapter 1128 and 1129. That's right. Since this is an episode with giants, we might as well do a giant amount of chapters.
Yeah, that's definitely what we did. It was absolutely not me trying to guess who was under that mask.
As usual, we're going to be discussing spoilers for the One Piece manga up until this point. So, if you have not yet read chapters 1128 through 1129, be sure to do so now for free on the Viz website or the Shonen Jump app, linked in the show notes as always. And remember, all new One Piece chapters are available to read for free up to 3 weeks after their official release, or whenever you want if you're subscribed to Shonen Jump, which we both are and do recommend. Now, Travis, I got to tell you something before we get started.
What's that?
Well, I was about to log into the Discord, hang out with fellow One Piece fans, both on the One Piece Spoilers channel and, of course, the larger In Between Drafts community that we've, cultivated in Discord. World famous, everybody loves it. But I think I have to quit the Discord. I think I have to leave it forever.
Did you break a rule?
I didn't break any rules, but I think Toei Animation broke some rules because I'm so distressed, depressed, and aggrieved at Toei's correct decision to put the One Piece anime on hiatus. Now, here's the thing. The news is that One Piece isn't coming back until April. But, I understand that it makes sense. It's the right decision. Everyone is going to be happy about it. But I've been watching One Piece week to week or binging it since I was a little boy. And I don't like change.
That's a tough one, John. I don't know what to tell you. Except that they also made the correct decision to recut Fishman Island into 21 digestible episodes.
Well, that is a small comfort, I suppose. Enough to get me back into the Discord, at least. But Travis, it's pretty huge.
Yeah,
One Piece is bucking the One Piece traditions.
It is, and I have to. I'm going to be eating a lot of crow in this episode, but I just want to say a
lot of Raven. You
fearless, sort of. Our fearless editor-in-chief, Allie Johnson, asked me when they said they were going to make an announcement on Sunday. She was like, what are the chances that the anime could become seasonal? And I said, that seems very unlikely because we know the remake is coming, and that probably will be just because that's kind of modern anime production. And no, that's technically what kind of happened.
I mean, so I would have said the same thing as you, Travis. I mean, you're not alone, and I would have been like, One Piece going seasonal. That's a delusion. What is this, My Hero Academia? No, it's not. But now it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
and
I like to think that this is the team just kind of understanding that they just need a little bit more time to cook. So I think you're right. It's the right decision. And I do think that all of the 5 chapters we're still going to have this year is going to be enough to keep you in the Discord. But John, I noticed there's a whole other announcement channel in the Discord as well now. Would you know anything about that?
A what?
Yes, some sort of podcast here?
Travis, are you trying to suggest that I, John Negroni, launched a podcast? What is this? Every year since 2014?
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, the news is... I wasn't going to bring this up, Travis, but you put me on the spot. Guess I'll oblige. Yeah, In Between Drafts, a.k.a. me and 2 of our wonderful producers, have launched a whole new show. And it has nothing to... Well, you know what? It does have some things to do with One Piece, I guess, because I brought up One Piece before on the show. But the news is, yeah, we definitely just launched a new podcast called Fantasy Writing for Barbarians. Not beginners, barbarians. And the whole thing with the show is that basically it's just me and I give fantasy writing advice. And it's really nice. Reacting to prompts on the internet, building a little bit of a little community there. Already got some real traction. It's really nice. Been enjoying it. And like I said, I do mention One Piece sometimes because it is so influential in my writing and all that stuff.
Well, that's a heck of a sales pitch there, John. I definitely need to check that out. And if you're listening and you enjoy this podcast, you should as well.
Sounds good. Well, hey, look, I guess with that, it's time to talk about these chapters, isn't it?
Speaking of fantasy.
Speaking of, the fantasy of us getting things right, I suppose. Okay, so 1128, we'll start with that one. I'll just do a little bit of a short summary here. This one starts with a really nice color spread, want to say. Very cool. Basically, the Straw Hats are having a volcano top barbecue with a dragon, but also Oda fit in this thing where they're also magicians. It looks kind of like Robin is supposed to be Harry Potter, I guess. And so it's interesting. I don't remember the last time Oda ever kind of like mixed two requests together like this. I know it's happened, but I don't recall what that might have been. And what must have been a while back if I'm forgetting.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head either, but I really do like this color spread. I like Witch Robin. I like that Frankie has turned his broom into a roadster. It's great.
Makes sense. Yeah, he's a little bit of a Hagrid in that respect.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right, but here's the summary for the chapter. So Luffy's group continues to speculate where they are. They meet a man, and they learn that they're in the land of gods, which is ruled by the sun god. And they're warned not to head in the other direction from the castle before leaving toward the sun god's temple. But as they continue in that direction, because Luffy is Luffy, they soon find out that they're actually in a giant-sized room, and they find Chopper. They do reach this temple, if you want to call it that. They fight a bunch of the guardians, and just as they capture one of them, is Cat, to basically be their ride to get out of there, the sun god returns, finds them, and then starts to chase them. So that's 1128. A lot of big stuff revealed here. Mainly that this like whole, kingdom thing was just like, as a lot of us suspected, it was kind of like a toy box, a toy room, kind of a diorama sort of thing. The name of the chapter is RPG, so it's kind of supposed to be like a tabletop, kind of RPG game that they were trapped in, essentially. Any note on that before I go to 1129 and put it together?
Just that little part. I posted this in the Discord as well. Reasons to join the Discord number like 500. But the immediate thing that I thought of reading this and kind of having that click when he hit that glass and they kind of, took the camera out to look at the diorama a little bit more was the final arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all things, where halfway through this Egypt time travel arc that they've been doing, time freezes and one of the characters makes an observation that everybody around them is almost like a figure. And that's when the little Yugi, the modern Yugi, makes the realization that they are, in fact, in a tiny RPG, and they've just been playing this big tabletop Egypt-style game this entire time. It's such a dope reveal, and this has the exact same energy of that.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's go to 1129 here. So this one, we return to the Oni Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage Volume 16 cover series. And it's called Ninja Training at Amigasa Village. We see, of course, wonderful Otama being trained as a shinobi with Shinobu, which is fun to see. She's got some bruises. She's training. Is she gonna have a Kobe glow up? Probably. I think so. I keep wondering if she's ever gonna get convince Shinobu to age her up so that she can marry Momonosuke. That's my Wattpad.
There you go.
Write up. Yeah. Okay, so here's our summary for 1129. As the sun god is enraged by what he sees, the 6 Straw Hat Pirates move on just before he catches up with them. With Nami's navigational skills, she directs them where they need to go. The sun god tries to catch them, but Zoro and Sanji break out of the net. As the sun god contemplates on what is happening, Luffy uses a modified version of Gear 4 to bust through the mirror in their way. It is revealed the sun god is actually Road of the new giant warrior pirates, who is against their alliance with the Straw Hats. So you will recall the new giant warrior pirates is headed up by Hadrujan, and back at Dressrosa, and Road was his navigator. So then the Straw Hats blast their way outside the diorama. It looks like Elbaph might be on the other side, and that's how the chapter ends. So lots of big reveals here too. So 1128 kind of established the land of the gods. I'm sure we would have speculated like crazy on who this sun god person was. I know Tekking kind of called that it was Road well before 1129 came out. Congrats to him. But here it's kind of dispelled immediately, like who he really is. He has his own raven named Mugen, who is humongous. And so basically it looks like the Straw Hats went through this like sleeping mist zone. At least that's what Road thinks happened. Could have been all kinds of things because they were on that like hallucinogenic alcohol, so who knows. But yeah, he captured them and basically wanted to toy with them, mess with them. This chapter is called Livedolls, I forgot to say. So they're basically just like his playthings. And he doesn't respect Luffy or acknowledge Luffy. So as like this, he's like, oh, he's so puny and all this stuff. But clearly, I mean, if he was the navigator for her region, he's not that powerful. So it is kind of funny that they're running away from him because this is not a dangerous situation at all. But it's kind of fun. It's just like a nice little. It feels kind of like filler, quite honestly. Like this whole thing, unless something changes and we get some sort of point to all this, this feels like the most fillery kind of filler in the manga. Quite a while, actually. I'm not disappointed or anything because I think it's fun. We get some cool updates, like Luffy being able to like use a mini Gear 4 is really cool. I'm glad we got to get that sort of advancement in the story. And also just having the Straw Hats hang out and going through this nice little side adventure and harkening back to East Blue. I mean, yeah, that part of it, or I guess the Grand Line because Chopper is there. Harkening back to the old stuff, that stuff's really cool. I do think that's fun, but will this progress the story? That's yet to be seen, probably, because, it's Oda.
I have some thoughts on that too. I kind of wonder if this is, we talked about this, right? That it's going to be increasingly more difficult to do like a classic One Piece arc, right? Because we're in the final saga. We've done so many big reveals. We've set so many pieces up that we thought were going to take years to put together, and they all happened in the same arc just months ago. So this might be Oda just trying to get this kind of out of his system, kind of do one last like look back at where we've been, where we're going. It's very possible that Elbaph is our last like proper island arc kind of situation that isn't like actively trying to move the story forward to that final climax, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm not really trying to complain at all, because it's like, what's there to complain about? A manga that's fun to read? Boo-hoo. But I do see some of the criticisms where people are a little bit like, you had all this momentum in Egghead and all this stuff kind of just like really coming to a head. And there does seem to feel like a bit of a rushed energy to like get us out of the Egghead situation. We didn't really get a chance to decompress after that. Like in between arcs, there was no transition. We just kind of got dumped into this totally random situation where, we're on the week to week. So we, of course, can't see the forest yet. We just see a bunch of trees. And that's fine. I'm withholding like the real judgment. But there is sort of there's a little bit of a disorientment I'm experiencing with it where it's just like when you jump out of Skypiea and then before we have a chance to decompress, all of a sudden, Luffy gets kidnapped by this guy with a hook for a face. This random stuff that Toei would whip out of their butts. That's kind of the impression I'm getting from this. I just hope that it's completely unfounded.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I think it was Grand Line Review submitted this explanation, which is that maybe Oda was kind of improvising a little bit here, that he thought it might be fun to, reintroduce a character this way, to do the Lego thing. We have like the absinthe hint and now these like, mists and whatnot. It kind of feels like he was trying this out and it didn't really work. These chapters have also been full of errors. I have a tinfoil hat that I have to eat later for that. And there's just a little bit of disjointedness to this where maybe he's just trying some things out before we get to the meat and potatoes of things. And it didn't all click, but it's funny. Maybe that's good enough.
Yeah. I do want to point out the things that I really enjoy for sure. That said, it's cool just to see that Luffy really seems to be mastering his devil fruit on a totally different level at this point. There's been a lot of conversation around the drawbacks of Gear 5th and how Luffy's going to, basically avoid his big weakness, which is his stamina. I've talked about it a whole bunch, but this seems to show like he's just getting better at that stamina. I think part of it is, it's not just Egghead, but he did learn a lot in Wano about preserving his strength, using Ryu like to control Haki in like certain parts of his body without overstressing himself. And I think like that's the explanation for why he can just kind of quickly zip in and out of these forms without exhausting himself the way that he would have pre-Wano. And I like that a lot because it's showing, it's like letting us kind of see that happen without it being explained like verbatim. We just get to experience it. It's a good show don't tell for the manga. Sorry to be all fantasy writing for barbarians, but you did bring it up. But no, like Oda is just kind of like demonstrating it through action of like, this is how Luffy is progressing. Here are examples. And it's satisfying because it does feel earned.
Yeah, and to your point, he also he doesn't use the mini gear fourth attack in 1129 right away. He lets Usopp attack first to try to break through. He lets Nami set up the clouds and everything to take care of Road chasing them. He's not trying to, just punch everybody out and solve the situation and protect his friends. He trusts them to also take roles in this, which preserves his strength as well. There
you go. It's just classic Captain Luffy. Yeah, so enjoyed this chapter overall. What did you think of Road? He kind of looks like Kabaji, the buggy guy. He's still around, I know, but his design, I was like, wait, what's he doing here? Oh.
Yeah, genuinely, I would not have guessed. I would not, if we had done the episodes correctly, which again is we didn't because it was our plan the whole time, I swear. I would never have guessed that this was a character that we knew well enough to be able to like clock for sure. My understanding is Tekking and maybe some other people did manage to do that based on like, I guess, his shoes. And look, I like being correct, but I'm not develop a foot fetish obsessed with being correct. So I will gladly take an L on that one. I could never have guessed. It is curious because we don't it's the first implication that we've really had outside of Harujin back in Dressrosa before Luffy clocked him of this kind of like delineation and superiority of giants versus other beings. Dory and Brogy have always been nice. We've seen the regular giant warrior pirates just immediately friendly. Omi and Kashi at Enies Lobby, they've all bonded with Usopp of all characters pretty well. So it's kind of interesting that the younger giants seem to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And it's kind of our first indication of what the conflict might actually be here in Elbaph.
I could see that, especially because, then we now have like Luffy in this situation where his antagonist, I guess, is this dude who is really an otaku, right? He has his own little like play place in his mother's basement for all we know. And there's something kind of charming and funny about that, something very self-aware that Oda likes to do. One thing I was kind of curious about though, just kind of like looking at these chapters again, the different giants have had different reactions to seeing Luffy in Gear 5th, but Road noticeably doesn't. He does see Luffy appearing as Sun God Nika, but he didn't. I don't recall him like commenting on it, and that could speak to that generational gap of like him not being as aware of like the actual Sun God. But it is a little confusing because he's cosplaying as what he thinks the Sun God is. So that just makes me wonder if there is this sort of disconnect between to him the Sun God is this kind of like Megadeth like 80s hairband kind of thing. I don't know if that's a stretch, but he does seem a little like gothic and edgy or punk, I guess.
That would be kind of cool, right? Because we've seen other, I guess, misinterpretations. The sun god first comes up in Skypiea and they're making like human sacrifices. That doesn't sound like a Nika trait, but it somehow got there. So that would be a kind of an interesting way to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I don't have too much else to add. I think that this just feels like is it going to be Elbaph on the other side, Travis? Do you think because it's being built up a little bit too much. It's a little bit like, oh, then what's the subversion going to be that we're not in Elbaph? Are we just going to be on some random ship? Or are we going to be somewhere completely different? Like, what if, I hate to say this, Travis, but what if we're in a completely different island that has nothing to do with Elbaph?
I don't know if I want to entertain that too much, because I think people would be genuinely heartbroken, chief among them Usopp.
Yeah.
Just this, I mean, he's literally praying. It's kind of, he's like literally, please let there be Elbaph on there. And that feels like Oda kind of messing with us a little bit, to your point, but I think it's more about, yeah, we've done this. It's a little distraction. I've teased it out. I think we need to do it. I'm trying to pull up the flashback.
That Raven could have flown in from everywhere, anywhere.
I know.
Travis, what if we're in Lodestar?
Well, so that would be hilarious. What if we're in
Lodestar, Travis?
I would scream. That would be. I would laugh so hard. No, but to your point, like Road makes the point. I had to pull the panel up. Sorry, I was doing that this whole time. He specifically notes that the Sleeping Mists are on the route to Egghead. So he knows that they departed Elbaph to go get the Straw Hats from Egghead. So
strong point.
That seems pretty likely to be kind of a geographical indicator. We don't know what the distances actually are, but we do know that Elbaph was one of the 3 next islands out of Wano. We're not really going like a direction forward like we normally do. We're kind of like moving a little bit lazily to the right, technically on the map.
It's a lateral move.
Yeah, it's a lateral move. So there's not really an expectation that there's supposed to be an island in between. It's not like we haven't had a giant island-sized ship come up before and interrupt our path, but I feel like this is more just Oda having a little bit of fun. There is also the fact that we know now, as of today, that after the 21st, One Piece will be taking 3 weeks off, which will take us into November, which will then lead to further breaks. So we are very close to being done for the year, which is very depressing to think about because we were very excited about getting to Elbaph. And there is the possibility that Oda is trying to kind of give himself some buffer to go into those break periods without, having to dump a bunch of stuff on us or overload a chapter or anything like that. So maybe we're taking it kind of lightheartedly so we can kind of jaunt our way into Elbaph and start the new year with the real, like, big, heavy pieces of like, story to get into. It's just because he knows his schedule, it seems very, very likely that that's actually what's happening.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And yeah, that hiatus, I'm not looking forward to it, but I guess, hey, that's just Oda saying, hey, everybody, focus on your family during the holidays, especially if your family doesn't also read One Piece and listen to Rookie Pirate Radio together.
Yeah, we're getting, we have the Jump holiday breaks as well. So these aren't even just Oda's breaks. These are just like, there's no magazine to put a chapter in. So, we're looking at, rough count off the top of my head is like 5 or 6 chapters realistically, maybe less before we're done for the year. And this has been noted before between the breaks and kind of just Oda's own well-being. It's going to get less and less chapters. We're already getting less and less chapters. Season 2 of One Piece should be coming out next year. They've basically all but said it. So we'll probably get another big hiatus for that so Oda can check in and maybe do press. So it's just this is the nature of the beast now. He is trying to accommodate that schedule so that we're not like in the middle of an event and taking 3 weeks off and it's just a really bad part of the story to do that in. Like, he's usually really, really good at giving us a cliffhanger for those break periods. And I think he wants to do that again.
Yeah, and honestly, if this also means that the Kuma flashback is just going to be banger after banger in terms of those episodes, please come out in the summer. Like, take the time you need. I'll wait.
Oh yeah, my expectations are significantly higher now, and they were pretty stinking high going into those flashbacks. But and of course, then the Elders right after that. So now they're like sky high. I kind of like maybe they're too high.
So yeah, here's what I hope happens next in the story. I just really want to learn more about how the God thing works. I know I brought this up last time too. It's getting teased, 2 chapters here, and we haven't gotten a ton of detail yet on what makes something a god in this part of the One Piece world. Because we already have a sense of like how gods work in the Sky Islands. And it's not clear yet if it's something that's connected at all with how gods are viewed here, because it's a Viking thing, it's a Viking motif, and the gods so far have been animals. And hey, look, if you've played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you might be a little familiar with some of that stuff and how it relates. And it's definitely got me wondering, it's got me thinking, right? Of what is it about Nika that makes it special, that the giants know about it, that it's in this book that Kuma had, that it's something that's worshipped but it doesn't seem to directly tie to an animal. It seems to be something sort of different. And in this case, this guy calling himself the sun god being basically a really lame dungeon master. That's the kind of thing, not that all dungeon masters are lame. I need to make that clear. I would not call myself lame. I would not call Travis Hymas lame. I actually don't know if you've ever been a dungeon master, but I could see it.
I have source books. I've played around with it.
Perfect.
It's just so hard to schedule, And it's worth noting, to your point, he's role playing, right? This is a game. So this may not even be the current state of religion on Elbaph. This could be mythology, like it itself. Maybe they've stopped believing in the sun god.
Yeah, I like that, because I do want there to be some of that conflict and tension you've already alluded to between the different giants and what they believe. And I mean, just give us an arc.
I mean, this is one of the things that we still have to resolve about Nika, right? We got a little bit of hint with Kuma about it, that Joy Boy and Nika are two different entities, and it's still kind of up in the air whether or not Nika, the fruit's inspiration, was real. The implication from Vegapunk is that it's possible, but the implication from Kuma is that it's not. So this, I think, is where we're going to get that last little piece of the puzzle to start connecting these, Nika to Joy Boy and then Joy Boy to Luffy more concretely, and perhaps in a way that Luffy might be bothered to care about. And I think that's why Bonnie is still with us, by the way, because we still have a whole other group of people to get to. And I think, we've talked before, what's Bonnie going to do? Bonnie's going to learn about Nika. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that being the next stage for her. I think that's why they're delaying the conversation that they're all going to have as a crew when it comes to Bonnie. It's just been put on hold because I think it's going to relate so much to this next. It's going to be a little bit of a Zoe, maybe in that, at least that way. So I agree with you. I think I'm just a little bit like, I'm trying to put all the pieces back in my head of like, what mysteries do we still have to solve that could come up here? We have the man with the burn scar. Doesn't look super likely that comes up, but hey, I mean, it is a character named Road, and we're looking for a Road poneglyph. I mean, can't judge me for, calling a spade a spade. I don't think.
It is spelt exactly the same way in Japanese.
Rhoda. So yeah, it's not stretch. There also, I think, is let's not forget about that big straw hat that was shown in Mary Joa. It's been a while, but we still know about it. It was frozen for reasons that don't make sense. And also, we did learn that Joy Boy himself was probably not that big, just because we did see him scaled against the giant robot, Emmett. And Emmett's about the size of a regular giant, I think. And unless you're trying to claim that like perspective or something like that was in play, which I don't think works, Joy Boy
perspective is always wonky in One Piece. Let's be fair here.
Well, I just want to put it out there that I think that Joy Boy seems to be kind of a close to normal size, maybe Buccaneer. But if he's not a Buccaneer, maybe he's a
yeah. Get it out of your system.
Fishman.
Come on, yeah.
Get
it out of your system. Get it out of your system. There it is.
I think Joy Boy is a fishman. I've said it 10, 15 times now, and I won't stop until Oda tells me to just seriously, like, I never planned for this, John. Why do you keep doing this, said Oda. So we'll see. Yeah,
or your father, Eiichiro Oda, is like, will you stop spoiling the... will you stop spoiling this for me, please?
Well, I wish. We are reaching the 25th anniversary of One Piece. We have a bunch of new content coming out on In Between Drafts. That is very exciting. Do you want to plug any of that, Travis, before we head out?
Really quick, I do want to... You touched on something that I want to kind of explore with you. You mentioned the man marked by flames, which is someone we floated recently back in chapter 1124, because we got a mysterious silhouette, if you'll recall.
Yeah, which I thought when I first read 1128, that was this character, the sun god. But then, of course, 1129 was like, oh yeah, no.
No. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe it is Road, because he was outside and his raven came to him with the ship. What if that's him? What if that was Oda setting that up and this is not like a bigger detail?
Oh, he was saying come to the raven?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess so. That'd be a little bit anticlimactic though, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would be, but like I said, that kind of feels like what's happening right now is kind of anticlimactic, right? Like All of this.
It's plausible, but I think we both agree it wouldn't be the most satisfying, huh?
Oh, no, absolutely not. It would be the worst silhouette Oda's ever done, if it really was. But I feel like we have to at least entertain that was him setting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are doing right now on InBetweenDrafts.com. It is One Piece week, which is my cosmic punishment for getting our editor-in-chief addicted to One Piece. I mean, what it actually means is we're going to be running different pieces every day of the week. In addition to Rookie Pirate Radio, we're going to be talking about a lot of the anime, because it is the 25th anniversary of the anime this month. So if you want a kind of a different perspective on the Straw Hats' relationship as a found family, we've got a very, very funny bit coming. I will not spoil anything about it because I'm very excited about it. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite episodes of the anime. We're also going to be looking a little bit closer at other aspects of the franchise. Right now, I'm working on the finishing touches on a piece about the One Piece trading card game, because it does some genuinely clever things to create the world of One Piece and its power systems and its themes on cardboard, and giving you the chance to kind of personify those abilities and powers in ways that, like, from a game design perspective and a storytelling perspective, is pretty wild. We've had a lot of like One Piece video games, and they've often had trouble kind of capturing everything that is One Piece, but this card game makes it look easy. It's pretty good. So we'll have that coming, a little bit more coming by the end of the week as well. But we're very excited. The first piece of it is kind of an intro piece, which is more or less my college thesis on Monkey D. Luffy as a character. You can go check that out as well. We're going to be doing other theme weeks as well that are not anime focused, but we figured, it's basically our bread and butter. We might as well start with this.
Love it. And as Travis Hymas, as you said in your Why You Should Give One Piece a Chance write-up, Luffy matters. Luffy matters to me. I think he matters to you too.
He does. He brings me such joy. And it's Luffy as a character. I didn't get to address my tin hat situation. We talked a little bit about how it could be that like he'd been replaced by Loki or something, and I would like to just really quickly show you my crumpled up tinfoil hat here, because that panel in 1128 where the person on the grasshopper comes by and tells them not to go to the temple because there's guardian beasts and no one's ever come back, and he just is sitting there like biting his lip, like just like absolutely vibrating with excitement. That is the most Luffy panel we've had in a really long time. That is just so quintessential Luffy. And unlike other shonen characters, you think about your Gokus, or Gon from Hunter x Hunter is another good example because they both very directly influenced him. They change over time, right? Like Goku, despite being still Goku, matures and has to be a father and has to be all of these things. Talking about Gon is kind of spoiling Hunter x Hunter, but Luffy, even in his most serious, even after everything we've been, is still somehow that dopey kid from Romance Dawn. Mm-hmm. It is so incredible that like Oda has literally stretched this character over the course of 25 years. We've seen him at his lowest. We've seen him at his angriest. We've seen him at his most passionate. And yet he's still at the same time just like vibrating with excitement at just walking down a pathway and finding a cool thing. It's so, it is the true core of One Piece. Like everything, the lore is so cool. The themes are so cool. We love everything about it, but it doesn't work without Luffy at all.
Yeah. And it just immediately put such a smile on my face just to see this guy, this Luffy character. He doesn't change except in the best ways, I think. So well said. And that's what you can expect from all kinds of in-between drafts coverage this coming week. And we have some other fun surprises coming your way we won't spoil here. But for now, we'll let it be at that. Travis, I guess I'll see you soon. Do we have a break this coming week? I actually forgot.
No, we have a chapter this week. It'll be after this chapter that the drought begins.
That's when the darkness settles in. But happy Halloween all the same when we get to it. But all right, thanks so much for listening to Rookie Pirate Radio. We'll be back again pretty soon.